Hello and welcome to the Grand Campaign recap of Session 6. This video will be an overview of the important wars, events and developments that have occurred during the 6th session. Same as the last session recap, the wars will be looked at from a chronological order instead of a geographical one. Remaining players, 16. 2 in the New World, 7 in Europe, 2 in Africa and 5 in Asia. The war from the last session between the Ottomans and the Russians continued into this session. Unfortunately, due to Russia's technical issues from his internet, he was unable to make this session, and as such he was replaced by another person subbing for him. Regardless, this still led to many a close fight, and between them both sides lost millions for this war, 4.4 million from battles alone, disregarding attrition. The Ottomans, however, did eventually power through, with the Ottomans restoring their own title as the unchallenged hegemon of this campaign in so far. I do not have much to say beyond this, so enjoy the rest of the footage from the war. Soon after the start of the session, fighting yet again broke out between Mutapa and the Netherlands, with the usual suspects, namely the British on the side of the Dutch and the Malayans with the Moroccans on the side of Mutapa. This war had many a close fight, but Mutapa and the allies did eventually manage to overpower them and secure a win. Another interesting development from this war was Malaya's ability to secure naval superiority against the British Navy, down for the possibility for a future incursion into mainland GB if they continued to lose even more power, albeit at that point the French have promised to take a much more involved approach to defending the British. Simultaneously, France did a quick player war against Morocco, while Morocco quickly conceded to preserve their strength to fight the Dutch. No real fighting occurred, but it was a player war nonetheless. Soon after this, France also lived true to their name and went after Peru, a move I still have no idea why they went for, but a move they ultimately did lead to their expansion into the New World. Peru and their ally California did try to fight back, but were ultimately unable to offer much in terms of actual resistance to the French behemoths. Soon after the French incursion, the British decided that the third time was indeed the charm, and again went into California and Peru. Despite some early gains and wins, they were ultimately unable to secure anything resembling substantial success, and were soon pushed back into their own colonial land, where they were consistently beaten back even further. The third time was not the charm for the British. As for their third attempt, they faced large losses in the New World again. We had quite a substantial break following that war, but it was not the last, as the Malaya-Khmer War started next. This war started well for Malaya, however they couldn't advance due to an interesting combination of game features. You can scorch the earth at any point to get minus 50 movement speed for both hostile enemies and for yourself. However, this stacks with the modifier Heavy Monsoon, which leads to a further reduction of enemy movement, namely a combination of two 50% reductions, meaning that it becomes literally impossible to reinforce battle, as it takes an infinite amount of days to walk into a province, leading to the Malayan inability to advance. This is 100% not an intentional combination of features, and as such I will need to find a way to limit its use in the future. However, for this campaign, as a reminder, the solution will be to temporarily ban Scorching Earth, and as such for the rest of the war between the two players, this mechanic will no longer be allowed to be used. This war continued from the middle of the session to its end, and it still continues into the next session. Sometime after the start of that war, the Ottomans went in for round 2 against the Russians. This war had much more of the same as the first. Very costly, millions dead, and the Ottomans again squeezing out a victory. Again, no one was interested in using this as an opportunity to jump the Ottomans, and they continued to grow in power even further. Either way, the only thing I can say regarding the situation will be a repeat of my earlier points, so sit back and enjoy the battles. Well, since we're now starting to approach the end of this particular Grand Campaign, with at best only 2 to 3 sessions being left, it may be an idea to take a look at the score situation, since that is what will be used to determine victory or defeat. The Ottomans, to the surprise of hopefully no one, have a clear lead in score. However, second place, which I thought would have gone to France, is actually taken up by Delhi, with third position being held by Yuan, who are followed somewhat closely by Malaya. After all this, we finally see France, who is only marginally ahead of Matapa. After Matapa we see Russia, who historically had much more score but has been knocked down quite a peg by the Ottomans. Bringing up the rear of the countries with any chance to medal, we have the Netherlands, who while at the bottom are in still a similar league to this competition. This is a full summary of every country with any reasonable amount of score, since most others are either way too far behind or in no position to seriously compete. I don't think it's possible for them to catch up at this point, although I can only encourage them to prove me wrong. And with that, the Grand Campaign recap for Session 6 has come to an end. If you wish to watch the stream for the next session live, you can do so by turning up at 7pm GMT to 11pm GMT on Sunday every week until further notice. If you wish to join the Grand Campaign, you can find a link to do so in my channel description.